Hello, everyone. I am just getting everything tested and set up here. So I'm just getting everything tested and set up here. So I'm just getting everything tested. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So if you are in the room for the virtual summit, if you could just jump on, say hello, just let me know that you hear me. That would be wonderful. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be here again tonight to share about the Code College Admission Summit you have been attending. Sorry, I'm kind of looking at a couple of different things here, trying to make sure that everything is working and that everybody can hear me. So I would love for you to jump on, say hello. Let me know that you can hear me if you're in the summit. Link, if you're in the course room where I sent a link this morning, just jump on, let me say hello, let me know you're there. Otherwise, I am going to just start moving forward. Leah says she hears me on Facebook, which is great. So I'm just going to start moving forward and kind of talking about some different things that we have been learning in the summit. So I hope that this weekend you were able to really jump in, go back, listen to any of the great speakers that you missed. We're highlighting a different speaker every day. And today we shifted into money. And I know that that is something that is on everyone's mind. Paying for college, figuring out and the CSS form and all the things that to the college admissions financial end of the process. And this can be very overwhelming. And especially if you are living on a budget, and even if you're not, and you have the funds to pay for your students' college, there's always that, you want to be able to pay as little as you can and to be able to save money to help your student going forward. So I want to encourage you that if you have not taken an opportunity to jump in and hear today, Fred from Pay for Ed started. Hi, Lisa. I'm glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us. But Fred talk today about the financial aid process, saving for college, some different things that you can do. So I hope that you guys have had some great information about that. I want you to feel free, if you're on the Facebook Live, if you come in at any point in time, ask questions. I'm sure that as you have listened to different speakers, maybe there's something that jumped out to you, you have a question about, and some of our speakers join us. Leah is on tonight from Mom Knows College, and typically we get others that join in. I really want to encourage you, if you have questions, feel free to ask, even if it's like a specific question about your student or about your situation, then feel free, jump in, ask that question, and we will be glad to answer it to the best of our ability. Until I get question, I try to start out talking about a different topic. And so today I thought that I would go and talk about Uniquely You. And that particular session, or yesterday, we talked about that. And this is something that I do with my students in particular. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I feel makes a difference in the college admissions process. And it is something that literally should carry through your students' application completely, whether they're starting as a freshman or they're going to be a junior going into their senior year. There are things about them that makes them unique, that makes them stand out. So colleges come in and they do look at students. They're going to look at their test scores. They're going to look at their grades. Those are things that are definitely, top on a college list. But you and I both know that your student is way more than, or a GPA, or what courses they took, or how many AP classes they took, or any of those things. And colleges know that too. And so when they're looking at college applications, there's a few things that they really are looking for that's important to them. One is that they want to see the student as a student. They are looking at these applications for the most part holistically, meaning that they are going to consider the essay. We've talked about the essay. They are going to look at your student's resume. We've talked about that a little bit. They're going to want to see, did your student show demonstrated interest? And that goes in a couple of directions: demonstrated interest in the college that they're applying to, as well as the major that they are applying to. So as they're looking, they're wanting to see what kind of different demonstrated interest that you're showing. Hi, Jamie. I think that's Jamie that just jumped on. I'm glad to have you here. So when they're going through and they're looking at that demonstrated interest, they want to know if your student is going to major in business, then do they have a passion in business? And especially if the school is highly competitive or the program in the school is highly competitive. Sometimes a school may not be an overall highly competitive school, but they have like the #1 business school in that particular state or even in the nation. And so getting into that program can become difficult. So if they're going to let a student come in and be part of the business school, then they want to know that your student really has a passion for business, and not necessarily but something very specific. Did your student join the DECA club? Did they start a business? Did they join an entrepreneurship club? Did they compete on different in different competitions or different areas where maybe they entered a business plan or something to that effect in order to show that demonstrated interest? So when we're talking about the Uniquely You, I want to go back to that. We are looking to see what are those threads that go through that all tie back together to your student that's going to show a college who they really are. What are their core values? What are their interests? What are their passions? What have they done to stand to really make an impact in those areas of passion? We can say all day long, I'm really passionate about XYZ, but if I've done nothing to show interest in that, area, then it doesn't really stand out in the college admissions process. They're like, well, okay, they have a passion, but I don't see that they've really done much or stood out or tried to go beyond just saying that in an essay, or maybe showing that they maybe joined a club and that was about it. So when they're looking at your resume, they are looking for depth. They want to see, did you join that club and did you get involved? Were you a leader in that club? Did you attend events? Did you compete in events if that's something that's available? Did you start the club? I have students all the time that I work with that will have a real passion in something specific. This year I have a student that has a political interest, and the school she's in is pretty much on the opposite side of what she believes. And so therefore she went and started a club in her school to help really bring out her ideas and bring together other people who had those same values or those same ideas. And they went to the school, they asked if they could start a club, they got a sponsor, they went out and built that club and really have impacted the schools of that. Now, there are still students on both sides of all the issues, but she did something about what she believed. And she wants to be a lawyer. She wants to eventually go into law. So doing a undergraduate degree that is going to be helping her lead into that area. And she's looking at public policy and various things that she's passionate about. So when a college counselor is looking at this student's application, they're going to be able to say, okay, she's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk. So that's where uniquely you, that demonstrated interest, really comes in. But the uniquely you is more than just that demonstrated interest. Like I said, it's like who they are. It's what makes them tick. When you think about your personal child, what is it that you see that you've seen since they were a young child? What is it that has really been a driving factor in their life? Do they have their own style? Do they have their own personality? They do. Are they more quiet? Are they more outgoing? Do they sing all over the house? Do they always have an argument about something that might lead you to note that they might be good in an area where they're going to get to share the opinion, those type of things. And so the uniquely you is something that they have to discover for themselves. I do a lot of aptitude testing with the students. I do Myers-Briggs with the students, and you can go to, and I've mentioned this before, I mentioned it in the talk that you listen to, but you can go to 16personalities.com and you can take a free Myers-Briggs test and just get a real good example up front of what your students, where they fall on that grid. We do a lot of other type of testing as well, and they're all fun tests. And you can do some of these things at home as well. You can sit down and talk with your child about what is it that they are passionate about. Get them thinking about what topic or what things, if I brought up to them or you brought up, will they just talk all day about, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be this great in-depth, philosophical conversation that they're going to have. It can be something simple. It can be something that they see at school that they're like, man, I really wish this was different, because if we were happening, then I think we would learn better. And just to jump back in and say, as I'm talking, if you guys have questions, I want you to feel free to ask those questions, whether you're in the chat on Facebook or you're in the course room and you're watching the webinar live from there. Jump in, say hello, let me know your questions, and I will definitely take time to answer those, because otherwise say. So you guys have to ask questions. You have to interact with me so I can answer those. So I want to make sure I'm giving you great information and everything. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Ask questions, jump in, and I want to answer those. So back to the Uniquely You while I'm waiting for some questions to come up. I think I was at the point where I was talking about getting them talking about things that they're passionate about. And those things are probably going to change if they're freshmen all the way to their junior or senior year. And you're going to see those passions begin to grow. But is your child tenderhearted? What are their core values? That's an important thing. And there's great exercises I do with my students, but you can find things online for free too if you want to search for those, that you go in and you really narrow down and you figure out what those core values are. And you want to find what their top 3 are. And there's a reason for doing this, because when you're filling out the application, you really want that, again, what I was talking about, the thread, you want that thread to go through the application. So let's say that one of their core values is fun, and they're a fun, they have fun, then you're going to want that to come through in their application. And that's an okay core value to have. It is perfectly fine if fun is one of their core values. That there's nothing wrong with that. We need fun people in college as well as the world. And that helps them also determine what to major in. Because if they're looking for something and they need to be in an environment where it's going to be more fun and that they can have that part of their, then sitting in a cubicle all day and not getting to interact with people at all is not going to be a great job or a great fit to go into a major that's going to lead into that type of a career. Then it's going to become very frustrating. They're going to change majors. They're going to end up staying in school longer. It can derail them. So you want to make sure you know what those core values are, because again, not just does it go through that whole college applicants into an important part of the major, choosing the major. And I'm sure that if you were watching videos this weekend, catching up on all of the courses that came out last week, you probably heard Dana Reeder, and she does an amazing job at helping students with the finding their career, their major, and figuring out what it is that they should be doing. But that's an important part. And that core, those uniquely you, those things about them that make them who they are, goes into not only the application, but also into choosing a career. Okay, guys, make sure you're dropping in some questions. I don't see any questions yet, so I want to make sure that you ask me some questions, or even if you don't have a specific question, if there's a topic you'd like me to talk on, just say, can you talk about this? And I can share more about that specific topic to help answer additional questions, or just to talk a little more about those things. But also that uniquely you goes into choosing their college list. If they're a student that has a core value of fun, like I mentioned a minute ago, and they're at a school that's going to be very serious and it's going to have a lot more restrictions and it's very focused and it's very competitive, then they're probably not going to thrive at that kind of school. On the other hand, if they're very studious and studying and education is an important thing to them, it's going to be the same thing. They're not going to really engage in a school that's more, the rah-rah, big fun type experience. So make sure that know those things and they know what those core values are, because when choosing a college, they're going to use that to help also narrow down those colleges. Welcome to all the new people jumping on. We've had 2 or 3 jump on in the last couple of minutes. I'm glad you're here. We're kind of talking a little bit about the uniquely you and why that's important and how it goes through your student's application and all other parts of their college experience. So I want to encourage you to feel free to ask questions, and it doesn't have to be about the Uniquely You. Anything that you've heard or any questions you have, even if it pertains to your own student, it's a personal question you want to ask, please jump on. Be sure to ask that, or even if there's a topic you'd like me to discuss, or drop that in, because I would love to discuss other topics that you have interest in. So I'm looking for those questions. So I'm going to give you a second to think and add questions, and then we'll keep moving forward with the Uniquely You while I'm waiting for those questions. So again, finding those core values, knowing what they are is vital. Again, as a college admissions professional, and I think I addressed this in the first talk I did, where I talked about why it's competitive and why the college admissions process has changed and what's going on with that. It really comes down to the biggest thing is that we have more kids applying to college than ever before, and more kids are applying to more colleges. And the reason for that is because they're concerned that they're not going to get in because there are so many kids applying. And most of these colleges, a lot of them are somewhat landlocked, and they only have so much money. They can't add more buildings or more classrooms because they just don't have the physical space in a lot of instances. And therefore, if they only have 500 spaces in a particular college, let's say in the School of Engineering, they can only accept maybe 500 students into the School of Engineering. And that would be a large university type, like UT or a very large school that has a larger capacity. So those type schools might have so many spots, and when they're looking at all of these students, they're trying to determine which students are going to be successful in their engineering program. Again, their engineering program is very competitive usually at these schools. So they're trying to determine, does the student really want to be an engineer? Do they really have the drive, the passion? Are they really interested in thermodynamics and really want to take those courses? Or are they doing engineering because their parents told them to do it, or somebody else said, hey, you should jump in and engineer. I think that would be a great fit for you. And that's what they're doing. And when they're looking at all of these applications, the only way they can determine that is by looking at the essays, looking at the resumes. Another area is the social media. That is becoming more and more prevalent in the college admissions process. I do a lot of training on social media, digital portfolios. We do have a class on digital portfolios in the summit as well. But colleges are looking at these things. There is a free site called Zeemee, Zeemee, and you can download it. It's an app for your student's phone. And they go in, and basically the application or the app will ask them a question such as, tell us a time that you felt like you were a winner. Let's just go with that. Tell us a time about it that you felt like you were a winner. And so the student can then hold up their video, hold up the phone, and tell. Maybe the student is an athlete or is competing in some kind of competition or is an artist or a singer. They can actually videotape themselves, maybe playing an instrument and playing a song. Now, they're going to keep these videos to a very minimal amount, so they're not going to put up a whole play or necessarily even a whole song. Maybe they just upload a verse and this is my favorite song and this is why it's my favorite song. Then when you're telling me in your application, I'm passionate about music, I can see that you really are passionate about music because you have showed that demonstrated interest in ways other than just on your application. Colleges, statistics today, and there are 45% of the college admissions offices actually go out and look at the student social media. They search them they put their name and Google them to see what are they involved in, what comes up, do their social sites match what they're saying on application. So if they've developed their uniquely you, then you're going to want to make sure that that social media joins in. Lisa has just asked a question. She says, my son is a junior. He's been receiving invitations for leadership conferences to attend. Sorry, let me get the rest of this. Over the summer, they can be quite expensive. Do you make a difference in the admissions process if he were? Okay, as far as summer camp, summer programs, there are a lot of amazing ones out there. There are a lot of great ones, and attending leadership camps can be a great thing. Now, in saying that, if you got a letter from Duke that said, hey, come to our leadership conference, this is a great conference, and you go to that conference because you think it's going to make a difference at Duke and you getting in, or Harvard or Yale or whatever, because that's the school they're passionate about, then that's the wrong reason to attend, because that's not going to necessarily improve their chances of getting in. While they will probably meet some professors from that particular university, sometimes they're professors that are actually there teaching those courses, and they may be able to refer to that in an essay, or maybe that person really connects with them and writes them a letter of recommendation. And while that will say, yes, the student was very involved, we really liked it, and it does carry some weight, it's not going to get your student in. There are camps that range from inexpensive all the way to very expensive. But my suggestion, whenever you're looking at a camp or a summer experience, and every student should have a summer experience, because these are the same things that go into that uniquely you, and it goes back into that demonstrated interest. So if your child has the opportunity to do an internship and you're not going to have to pay for them to do an internship, then that can carry as much weight as going to a camp. But at the same time, if they can go to a leadership camp and there's, somebody there who can really speak to that and help them going forward, then that's a great thing. I have a student this year, a girl who's has very strong leadership skills, and she wants to go in, she's going into business and marketing and all of that type of thing. And she went to an amazing leadership camp this summer and met a general that's pretty well known, that has books, that has pretty good influence. And he actually really connected with her, and then he wrote her a letter of recommendation that went to all of her colleges, which was great because that was able to be put under other recommenders, and it gave her strength in her application that here is a world leader that is speaking on her behalf and saw leadership in her. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If you need more specifics, just feel free to jump in there and ask me. I know a lot about a lot of the programs. I don't know about all of them, but I do know that you're right. Some of them can be quite costly, and it can be difficult to be able to come up with or it's difficult to think about spending that kind of money. But if it's something that is a camp that's your son is very passionate about, or your daughter or your student, whoever is very passionate about, and they really want to, maybe they want a career where they're going to be leadership, then that would definitely be a good thing. I would look at camps, though, beyond just leadership, because while leadership is important, you can show leadership in a whole lot of ways. Now, if your child, like I said, wants to go into law, public policy, anything that is going, business, some kind of, business where they're wanting to work into management, CEOs, that type of things, then you are going to want to do maybe a leadership camp. But let's say your student is passionate about another area, let's say computers, then you might prefer looking at some of these camps that offer an opportunity for them to do that. Another story I can share, and she said, thank you, I answered a question. I'm glad I was able to help you. But while we're on the topic, I had a student a few years ago that went to a camp, and a science camp, loves the sciences, that type of thing. And she had an autistic brother. And while she was at this camp, they were doing virtual reality things and in the rooms, and she saw some really great technology. And when she was applying to college, one of the essay questions was talking about solving a problem, and that's still a current question on the Common App right now. But she went in and talked about that. After watching that, she could imagine how that could help students with autism, because a lot of times kids that have autism are uncomfortable in situations that are unknown to them. And so for her, she was like, if you could have a simulation thing where students with autism go into a room and they could see the surroundings prior to going out and going into those surroundings, then that could help them. And she wrote her essay on that. And so obviously she was going into the science field. She wanted to study that type of thing. She wanted to go into research and various things. She went to a camp that gave her a great idea, and it was an amazing essay. So again, that uniquely you that's going through every area of her particular application or anybody's application. And in those camps, you can also show leadership. So she could have maybe taken that and come back to her school and started a club that, again, we talked about that, or something to that effect, where they were going to study the effects of virtual reality and that type of thing. So there are so many things you can do, and it's difficult because I know there are a lot of things out there that can cost a lot of money, and it's just finding that balance and what you can provide. And I obviously think that if you're able to send your kids to there's some amazing camps and some amazing opportunities. I think our opportunities today than they ever have. So if you can afford that, then definitely do that. If it's a financial issue, then reach out to the school a few years back that wanted to attend a huge, she was an artist, and she wanted to attend a theater camp, and financially their family couldn't afford it. And so she reached out and said, can I come and be part of the camp? And I'm willing to work to do something to help out to offset my tuition. And they were looking for people to help build costumes for the show. So she went to the camp, participated in the day, and stayed at night and helped costumes. So, she was able to go to an amazing camp, have a great experience, and they scholarshiped her because she was able to trade out that skill. So think outside the box. Definitely, don't look at something and go, there's no way. A lot of these places do offer scholarships. So I hope that helps in all of those areas. And again, I'm glad that everyone's on here, so jump in and ask questions. And if you have any others, I appreciate Lisa's question, but I hope that everybody else will jump in, share some things, and some topics that you might want me to talk on besides the uniquely you, because I think I've shared a lot about that. Or if you have questions specifically about the uniquely you that maybe I didn't address, that you kind of wonder something I've said, then please feel free to jump in and ask for that. I hope you guys are really enjoying the virtual summit. Like I said, we're talking about money over the next few days. So you're going to get, we have 2 speakers that are going to talk about the one today. We have one tomorrow that's going to talk about the FAFSA, the CSS, and we have the scholarship lady is going to be talking as well, and she has some amazing information on finding scholarships. So I know that for all of us, that those coveted scholarships can really help. So she's going to share some great tips about that. We have some other great speakers coming up as well. As a matter of fact, we are going to have one. We have Erin, who's going to talk. She's from Amigos, and she's going to talk about summer programs, gap years. this is kind of the time you really need to be thinking and helping your child determine what they should be doing in the summer, because whether they're working a job, whether they're interning, whether they're out volunteering, going on a summer camp experience, make it unique to them. Help the thing that they're going to be passionate about and that they're going to want to do. I see this all the time where kids are like, oh, okay, I've got to do volunteerism, or I've got to do this, or I need to do that just because it's going to look good on my college resume. But if it's just a random thing, then it doesn't give your application any strength. What they're looking for is the things that your student's passionate about. So if they're out and they're volunteering, or they're doing something that they're really passionate about, then you're going to see where that strength comes. I always tell students, especially when you have those students that are really love volunteering and they're out there and they can find every opportunity possible. And then you have those kids that are like, I don't really want to volunteer. I mean, it's just the reality of it that there are some kids that's not a passion for volunteering. So what are they passionate about? Maybe they love playing video games, because that is really truly where we see a lot of kids these days, is playing video games, those type of things. So maybe they're able to go out and help or partner with a local organization, and they're willing to help bring in their gaming systems, and sit with younger kids and play video games and be an influence that way. So again, think outside the box. I don't really know how that would work specifically. It just kind of popped into my head as we're talking, but really think through, what is it that they can do that falls into an area that they're already interested in? Because if they're passionate, they're going to enjoy it. And then they're not going to, be going out doing it just because. So find an issue that they're passionate about. Find a activity that they loved, area that they, and really begin to cultivate that. Even if it's not within their major. I mean, I talked about earlier how that their core values, that all of those things can help also go into their major and help them stand out. But they may have a core value or something that they love that they're not going to major in. As for me, I love education, and obviously I'm passionate about what I do. It's, I'm the kid that played Barbie dolls and set them all up and taught them and gave them grades when I was like in elementary school. So yes, I was like wired to be doing what I'm doing, but I'm also very creative. Obviously, if I made up papers for my dolls, that shows you that I have a creative side to me. So for me, when I feel stressed or I feel overwhelmed or any of those things, I have to go and create, whether it's working on scrapbooks or doing some kind of art or something to that effect. That's my release. So your student may have something to that effect, that maybe they love music and they're passionate, and if they hear music, it just calms their soul. It gives them the strength to go on and do what they need to do. So you don't want to leave that out of the application just because they're not going to major in art or music or sports or whatever that, activity is. It could be any one of a million things that they love. And some of our kids that are especially high achievers, or high flyer kids, as we call them sometimes, they have multiple interests, and they're like, I love all these things, but I really want to major here, but I still love this area over here. Well, don't push that aside. That's part of their uniquely you. And just because they're not going to major in it doesn't mean we don't want to draw that through and bring that thread again. Because when colleges are looking at the students, they want a student that's going to come to their campus, that's going to be successful. They do want to look and know that the student can succeed in their classes and do well. But they also want to know, is your student going to get involved? Are they going to be part of the campus? What can they bring to the campus? What areas are they going to like be involved in? Are they going to be an active member? And how does that look? And are they going to be excited to be a bulldog or whatever it is that their mascot is? And that's what they're looking for. So when they see that passion, and when we talk about diversity, that is one of the areas that they look at when you're going through and they look at these students. They're looking for students that have interest in all areas, not just students that are, oh, we've taken all these great AP courses, we all have great grades, and we all have high test scores. And like I said, that's all extremely important. So I'm not pushing that aside saying, oh, this in place of that. All of those things are important. But beyond that, they want to see that they have the kid that loves sports, and the kid that loves the arts, and the kid that loves the sciences, or the kid that wants to, go out and help, create new landscapes within the school, or whatever that area is. They want to see students that have diverse interests and activities. So remember that in the Uniquely You. So it is more than just what you're going to major in. That's why having those 3 core values, knowing what they are, they may tie into the major, they might not, and it's okay. But you want to pull those through, and you're going to tie them all together so that when I look at your application, I'm not just seeing that one particular student. And I wanted to go back. Again, feel free to jump in and drop questions into the comments if you have any questions, if there's a topic you want me to talk about. But I think before I started answering the question earlier, I was talking a little bit about social media. And I'm not sure that I finished that. And so I kind of want to go back to that, in that colleges are looking at social media. One thing to remember is that many of these college admission counselors are recent college graduates. And if you're on any college campus, you're going to see the social media and technology everywhere. And so they know how to Google, they know how to find students, even if their stuff's set at private and those type of things, they still can find information about students. And what they're looking for is the student lines up. I heard an admissions officer talking one time about a student who had shared a story about how her and her family every year on Christmas went down and served meals to the homeless, and she wrote this whole really compassionate essay. And then the college admission officer was like, oh, I love this person. This is so great. I want to check her out a little bit more. And she went into her social media, and it was around Christmas. And on Christmas, when she was supposed to be doing this other thing, because she had talked in her essay about how their family was going to do this coming year again, and that it was going to be her last time to do it before she went to college. So she said all of these things in her essay. When they went on, the girl was actually skiing and was not doing what she said she was doing in her essay. So obviously that played in a negative effect for her, and she didn't get accepted because of that. So you want to make sure that you're showing and what you're saying is really all the same. But there's a lot of positive about it. So we always hear those negative stories like, you want to make sure that you're showing yourself in a positive light. But additionally, the social media can really push your application over the edge. And on the Common App, there's a place where you can put that ZME link. I mentioned this earlier. If you came in late, there is an app your student can ZME, ZEEMEE, and they can create some digital content and really show who they are. The Common App says, put your ZME link here. A lot of schools will say, is there anything else you want us to know about you? Anything beyond what you're hearing and seeing on the application, or what we're seeing on the application? So in there, you can drop a link. And 98% of the college admission officers said that if a drops a link into a video, not a video, but like a digital portfolio, if they do a ZME, if they add a website link to something that's them, that they will look at it. And so that can be the thing that pushes you over the edge. So that's why it's important, again, to have that thread going through all of that social media. I'm sure that you can tell I'm passionate about this, and I do feel like that every student is unique. And regardless, the college admissions process is stressful. It is difficult. We see every year as people in my industry, other college college coaches, we see this all the time where students are more than qualified. And 10 to 15 years ago, they would have been accepted to the schools they're applying for. And now they're being deferred, denied, or, different things to that effect. And you're just like, there's no rhyme or reason. And when you're creating that application, you really want to add the things that are going to help you stand out, that might push you over the edge. And that's what you're looking for, is to be different and to show you as to who it is and to who you are. And Leah just said it's so competitive, and it is. And it's heartbreaking to see students when they get a no. And, last year I had a student who was number 6 in his class, and he did not get accepted into a school he really, really wanted. And I remember he called me at 10 o'clock one night and said, "That's it. I'm going to junior college. It's over." And I'm like, "No, it's not over. I promise." And of course, now he's in a school. He's in a business major. He got into an amazing school. He's thrilled. He loves it. And now he's like, "I don't know what I was thinking." But, it is an emotional process for both the parents and the students. And so what I want you to remember is that your child is unique. And I want the students to understand that they have qualities, that they are above, and they're different. And what makes them different is what makes them who they are. And just because they don't get into a particular school that they just really think they want to be in, it doesn't make them any less of who they are. And when they go through life, they're going to be able to make an impact and a difference. And if they know ahead of time what makes them unique, then that's going to carry them in. So when they're making choices and they're looking for jobs, even beyond college, and this is what is so great about the Uniquely You, is you can start this early with your student, and they can carry it all the way into adulthood. And I wish that I had learned this earlier in my life, because I think that there's a lot of pressure on teenagers to be like other people and those kind of things. And so we want to really help them stand out. So welcome, Lindsay. And we have another question. It says, "My student is a junior and doesn't know what she wants to do. She is an A+ student and it's so difficult to tell her area of deficiency. How do we help make a decision, or at least an area of intent?" Sorry, I want to read this to make sure I'm reading it right. Maybe could you explain to me what you mean by her areas of deficiency? Are you talking about like as far as her subjects? Oh, she's a sophomore. Okay. Yeah. And so you're talking like she's really strong in all of her subjects, or her class subjects, like science or language or math or those type of things. That's what I think you're saying. So because she's a strong student, how do you determine what areas that how to help her find her area of intent? And again, this kind of goes back to that Uniquely You. If you can help her really narrow in on the things that she enjoys. And as a sophomore, I would really encourage you to talk to her about like what her favorite, maybe just talk about areas that she's interested in. Make a list of those. Maybe narrow that down to 3 or 4 areas of interest that she has. And maybe it is science, and maybe it's law, and maybe it's, writing. And it's okay that they're all different at her age as a sophomore. Then over the summer, I would have her maybe really delve into that. So let's say that she says, okay, I really like writing. That's something I really enjoy. Then maybe have her write a blog and start a blog and talk about anything that she enjoys. First of all, it'll look good on her application. But second of all, she'll learn really quickly, do I like that or do I not like that? If she is, interested in the medical field, maybe check and see if there's something at her school. A lot of times there are programs. I know I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and the Fort Worth mayor's office always offers internships every year to students in the Fort Worth ISD. So students in the ISD can come and apply to work in the mayor's office. So if you're going into a political field, that's great. I tell kids all the time that if they're really interested in politics or law or any of those things, then go volunteer at a campaign. Of course, we just got through going through an election cycle, but if that's coming up and that's an interest, let her jump in and see how she does in that. Is it something she enjoys? Does she get into it and go, oh no, I don't think this is really for me? Then that helps you narrow down and kind of figure out which things she'll start naturally gravitating toward one area. Leah, I know you're on, so you can feel free to answer any of these questions as well in the comments, and I'm sure that everybody will get to see those. But that would be my advice to, as a sophomore, help her try out a few things. Maybe join a club. If she's interested in marketing, have her look into DECA. DECA is a great organization for students who are interested in marketing, those type of things. They can do DECA all through college. They can get scholarships. It's a great field if your child's interested in going into business, or if they're interested in science, have them check out robotics. There's lots of different clubs and things that they can join, competitions they can do. If they're really interested in computers, there are quite a few summer programs that are pretty inexpensive that are local. So be sure to jump in and do that as well. So I hope does that kind of help you answer that question, or do you have a more specific question about that? I think that probably answered her question. So anyway, I hope that this is helpful. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask? I'm glad to see the people on the site in our in the virtual summit as well. So I'm hoping that they're keeping up. I see a few people commenting, saying they agree with comments, things to that effect. So I'm glad you guys are there too. I know I've been like talking into the live Facebook event for the most part, but want to make sure that I answer any questions there as well. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask, I will be glad to answer those for you as well. I am thrilled again there. Have enjoyed so much doing this summit, and we are going to go live again on Thursday. So you can go ahead and mark your calendars now and let us know if you have any questions ahead of time. I said this in the Facebook group today, but it's also in the on the online group as well. If you have a question and you're not able to attend, drop it in one of the comments, let me know that question, and then I'll be glad to answer it as well, because I know sometimes it's difficult and you have every intention of being on, and then something happens and you're not able to make that live event. And so I want you to make sure that I definitely want you to ask those. And I hope you guys enjoying the summit and getting some good information from that. I would love to hear any comments you guys have about that. It was something I wanted to do to really give you, as a parent, great information, because the two things that I hear the most as a college admissions counselor is that one is parents say, I don't know what I don't know. And sometimes you don't know what questions to ask. And you may look at all of these topics and go, wow, I didn't know a student could take a gap year. And that is something important too. If you have seniors and they have not started this application process at all, and you're thinking, oh, what are we going to do? Their college options are very limited at this point. February 1st is the deadline for a large majority of regular decision schools. Your student can do rolling admissions, but again, there's a fewer those options become fewer and fewer, and they may not be a great fit for your student. So taking a gap year might be something they want to do. And there's lots of ways to do that beyond just going abroad or being part of a gap year program. You can do a gap year and start a business or various other things. So just keep that in mind as you're going through, but you may not have realized there are so many topics that are available, or so many things that go into the college admissions process. And the second thing that I hear all the time is that, where were you? I didn't know that this industry existed. I wish I had known about you when my student was going through this. Or I see young people who say, I sure wish I had known about this when I was going through it. I didn't choose the right college. I have a lot of debt. I really went the wrong way. It took me longer to get through the process. And so my goal in putting out this summit was to really provide information for you to help you know what questions to ask. And again, I hope that you will really get into the summit, watch the videos. I left it open till February the 16th. At that point, the summit will close. But I did that because I wanted to give people plenty of time to go in and watch it. A lot of times I see summits and they're 3 days long and there's 15 videos, and you're thinking, how am I going to watch all those in 3 days and work a full-time job and drive my kids to their activities and cook dinner and all the other things that go along with that? And so therefore, by providing this over a period of time, I want you guys to be able to go back and listen, to think about questions, ask notes, take advantage of the offers. We have amazing offers. We have everything from free downloads to discounts on products. And for anybody who's interested in knowing more about the EPC campus, I'm offering a 30-day free trial. Your first month will be free just for the summit members. This is not something I do for anybody else. So I wanted to do that to give you guys a chance so that you can just really get in and find out information. But check out all the offers, check out what the different people are sharing and offering, those type of things. Find out the things that are most important to you, where your child is. And I'm really excited to see those of you that have sophomores and juniors and you're getting in early, because it will definitely, without a doubt, help your process. So I think that we're going to wind up for today. I hope that you guys got lots of great information. Go into the summit, check out all of the great things, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Have a great evening. Bye.